probably know her best as Jennifer Parker, Marty McFly's girlfriend in Back to the Future. Please give a huge, warm Pensacon welcome to Claudia Wells.
How are you? Good. Hey, Marty.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Definitely.
So I had neck surgery, and it's better for me to turn to the right. Can we swap?
Absolutely. I can, or if you want to stay there.
And now y'all know I had neck surgery.
So,
Whoops.
how did you get into acting, and how did you get the opportunity to be Jennifer Parker?
Well, I'd always wanted to be an actress. I always knew that was what I was supposed to do, starting when I was probably 2 years old. And I used to say to my mom I wanted to be on Sesame Street and Romper Room. Is that all too far back for you young people? Sorry. And she used to tell me that I couldn't, and I was crying because I thought you had to be tiny to be on television. I really thought that, but I really knew that's what I was supposed to be. And then there was a show where if you invent something, you're on the panel. So I invented something, which still doesn't exist.
What is
Want
it?
to know what it is?
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, my mom still wouldn't let me on the show. She said, no, that was 20 years ago. It's just reruns. So I used to take the bus a lot. I'm from San Francisco. We do a lot of public transportation. So you got to, and I also went to a really hard school where you always have so much homework. So I invented, it looks like a briefcase. Okay. And if anyone does this, I want created by. But it looks like a briefcase, but you can put it on its side and go like this, and go like this, and go like this, and go like this, and then it's a table. And the briefcase is on its side like files, so that's where you can keep everything.
Wow.
Right?
That's very smart. I need one of those.
And then actually how I officially started acting was when I was 8. I was in an opera at San Francisco Grand Opera House. And so I sang in order to be able to act. And then I was so shocked that they pay you. I thought you had to pay to act. I was certain of it. So then an agent saw me and represented me, and I got my first commercial, which was a national commercial for Volvo. And it won a Clio, which is like the cool thing. And then I talked my mom into moving us to LA so I could be an official actress. So that's how I started acting. And then how I did Back to the Future. So I starred in a lot of series and episodics, movies of the week, and school break specials and all that. Then I started auditioning for movies. And actually, Adventures in Babysitting was down to Phoebe Cates and me and Elizabeth Shue, who ended up being my part in 2 and 3, which you probably already know. And I screen tested for Goonies, for the lead girl, Gremlins, for the Phoebe Cates part, and Young Sherlock Holmes, for whatever the lead girl in that was. And I did not get any. So then I got a call to come back and audition for Back to the Future. It was one audition, and Steven Spielberg was there. It was about a 2.5-hour audition. Bob Gale, Bob Zemeckis, Neil Canton, all the head, people from Amblin and the casting people. And Steven is so cool. They were filming the whole thing. He kicked out the cameraman. He said, I cannot be in a room with someone else behind the camera. So the guy had to leave. I know, right? And I auditioned with a guy who, it was his 11th callback to play the part of Marty. And he ended up being the drummer in the band scene as an FYI, which I thought was very nice of them. And we did the scene in the car with Marty and Lorraine, where she's drinking and smoking. That was my audition scene. We did it about 1,000,000 times because Steven kept saying, I want to see it faster. Make it like a radio show. And it was just great. And one audition, I got the part.
Wow.
Because I think they were sick of not casting me.
And so, what was it like seeing the script or hearing about this movie in which a teenager time travels, in the 80s? Was that a weird concept to you at the time, or did you think it was amazing?
I thought it was a combination of weird and amazing, and because I was such a student and I was very serious for a young person, especially, you know, with character building. And I mean, Jennifer Parker, I knew what she did for homework, where she lived, who her parents were, even though you guys knew her dad, and everything about her. But when I read the script, because it's a time travel movie, and I was like paying so much attention, I had a whole list of questions of, well, if Jennifer Parker was this here, how come she wasn't this here, and how did this happen here? And I called Bob Gale, who produced the movie with Bob Zemeckis, and I read him all my questions, because of course there was no email or anything. So his answer was, Claudia, sometimes you just gotta not think about it. So, but I loved it. It was very secretive. I had to sign something that said I wasn't going to tell anyone what the movie was about, who my character was, who was in it. I didn't even tell my sister. I mean, then they told me that if we Xeroxed any page in the script, each script had a special number on each page that doesn't show up until it's Xeroxed. And then once it's Xeroxed, this bright colored number shows up, which then they find out about, and then I get in trouble. So I never told anyone, never Xeroxed it. And then I was doing a Q&A with Bob Gale once, very recently, like in the last 2 years, and I was saying how impressed I was by that. He goes, you believe that? I was like, till just now. So it was fun. It was great. And I was cast when Eric Stoltz was cast, which seems to be a thing. I keep seeing these websites that are sent to me saying I wasn't cast first, and I try and very politely say, actually I was, twice. So, and I did photo session with Eric that was supposed to be in his wallet, and he would call sometimes and ask to speak to Jennifer, because he was very method. Great guy, brilliant actor. I took acting class with him a few years earlier, so I knew him. And then a pilot called Off the Rack that I had done the previous spring for ABC with Ed Asner and Eileen Brennan, and it was one of Dennis Haysbert's first shows, who then he became rocked his way to superstardom. It was scheduled to shoot at the same time as Jennifer in Back to the Future. And I tried, or my mom tried, and the producers tried to let ABC share me with Amblin, and they wouldn't. And even Ed Asner, and we just talked about this a couple weeks ago, stood up for me. He's like, let the kid do a movie. Why should she sit around here? Because we shot only on Friday nights. And they wouldn't. So I had to say no thank you to my part that I was already set to do, actually at that point for a few months. And I did my, you're getting a phone call. So I did the series. It was a 3-camera show on Friday nights in front of a live audience. They let Eric go after about 9 weeks, I think 8 or 9 weeks, and they had recast my part with actually a girl who, she and I were in major competition for almost every part, so many parts. It was down to her, me, Phoebe Cates, Elizabeth Shue, or Sarah Jessica Parker. That was pretty much how it got to. So she got my part, and then when Eric was let go and they got Michael, who they actually originally had wanted, she was too tall, and I got my part back. Yay, short! So
what was it like working with Steven Spielberg and Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd and, big names at the time?
Huge names. Well, Steven, I only saw the audition.
Oh, okay.
And I've never seen him since. Chris was awesome, very shy. I remember when we were doing the last scene in the movie. Yeah, the last scene in the movie. He was sitting next to me in the garage, and he had just had knee surgery or something was wrong with his knee. But I remember sitting next to him, and he was so shy, and he was so quiet. And the thing that's kind of cool about people like that is when they do speak, it's because they have something to say. And so you really want to listen. And Michael, exactly who you think he is. Kind, loving, upbeat, positive, nature, humble, incredibly talented, genius, brilliant comedian. And he's still that nice today. I just saw him a few months ago in London. Same niceness, same kindness, looks the same. We had the same, like, experience, like chemistry and feeling together. And, oh, interesting, Crispin Glover, who played his dad in the first movie, I went to high school with. We were in the drama department with Nicholas Coppola, who became Nicolas Cage, and Johnny Silverman, and amazingly famous people. John Turteltaub, who became a huge movie director. And I never saw Crispin on set, and I don't remember seeing him at the premiere. Then I saw him, we were in line several years ago for a party at the, what's it called, the Hugh Hefner Mansion? What did they call it? Playboy Mansion. I'm standing in line and I hear this voice standing behind me, and I look and I'm like, Crispin? And he goes, yeah. I said, Claudia Wells, drama department. And he's like, Claudia! And I was like, oh, and we were in the movie together. So that was fun. What else?
Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay. No? Well, I did want to know, so why didn't you come back for Back to the Future 2 and 3?
Do any of you know that? I'm just curious. You do. A lot of people still ask me. My mom was diagnosed with 4th stage lymphoma. About a year after the movie. And so by the time the movie was going to be shot, and I was supposed to be in it, in both of them, and they were telling me that the role was quite big. And so by the time it was time to shoot it, she was so sick, and there was, you know, radiation and chemo and all these things, and you know, the stress and the personal issues that come up when your mom is dying. I just said no thank you to everything, and just, that was that on that. So that's why I didn't do it. And I don't have any regrets either.
You moved on to some really cool projects. I know you were part of the Stop the Madness video.
I know!
What was that like?
Oh, you guys have to Google it.
I've seen it as well.
Yeah, it was one of the first music videos. We did it in 1985. It was the Entertainment Industry Council, and it was an anti-drug abuse video. And I starred in it with Boogaloo Shrimp from Reagan, and Arnold Schwarzenegger plays the garbage man, and Whitney Houston sings, and oh my goodness, really famous people. But you should Google it, Stop the Madness. And now I've also been a founding board member of a charity that's very close to my heart called Kids in the Spotlight. And we help foster kids. And we go to foster kid living places where they live, and they also go to school. And we bring them a program. It's a 10-week program, 3 days a week, and teach them, you know, that they were born with a purpose, and that, because none of them are there by any doing of their own selves. It's, you know, family issues. And we just really encourage them and love on them. And even the, you know, the ones that are a little bit hardened and tough, if you love on them long enough, they become like the squishy ones. And we teach them how to write a script and act and team leadership and how to cast. Then they have to vote on who gets the parts in their short films, and they choose whose short film they're going to film. And then we bring in professional cameras, companies, and craft services, and professional directors, and in one day at each establishment we shoot their movie. And I was cast to star in one as this girl's mom. It was her real story. And then once a year, usually the last weekend of October or the first weekend of November, we do an Oscar-type ceremony. We screen all their films at a big theater. We give out awards. We have celebrities there. We have a poster of all their films, and it's on DVD. And they're the stars. We dress them. We bring them out in a Mercedes van type thing, and we just give them their special time. And so it also gives them an idea that, oh wow, there's this career I could do. There's this I could do. There's this I could do. Makeup, hair, in front of the camera, behind the camera. And prayerfully it changes their lives forever.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's not usually an opportunity they would get in
Ever.
those situations. That's
Most of them have never been to Beverly Hills. We provide the clothing and the suits for the guys. And kidsinthespotlight.org.
That's awesome. And you're not just involved with charities, you're also a businesswoman.
Yes, I
tell us
am.
about that.
I own a men's clothing store in Studio City called Armani Wells, which I love. We're in our 25th year, and it's the only high-end designer resale clothing store just for men in Los Angeles. So it's very high-end, very expensive clothing that I sell at like 60 to 80% less than retail. And the site is ArmaniWells.com, and we're actually, it's being rebuilt so that I can post pictures of merchandise I have and things like that. And I opened in December 19th, 1991. And I still work there, obviously, but every day I'm there is still as fun and fulfilling as the very first day I opened the store. No doubt. I have a fabulous employee named Cece, who's the store manager, and she's the reason I can still travel all the time to do these shows, because she runs the store so well. But I'm still the only one to buy the merchandise or price it. We work very well together.
That's great. And so you do travel a lot, you go to a lot of conventions, and I'm sure you get asked, for your autograph all the time. I imagine you have probably been asked to autograph some strange places. What is the strangest place you've been asked to autograph on a person?
I'm glad you said that. I was going to say Missouri. Okay, so there was this guy, I'm trying to remember, I think it was an East Coast show. Might have been Detroit. Motor City Comic-Con, I think. Good memory. This man walks up to me with his wife, and they're both covered with tattoos. And he said he has celebrities sign his body, and then what they do is go straight to the tattoo parlor and have it all tattooed. And his wife was right there. I'm like, are you okay with this? Yeah, sign wherever you want. Well, the guy is all covered with signatures. You know how someone even has them everywhere? So, of course, I wanted to be in a good position. So he had this little space right here that was still unsigned. So I signed, love Claudia Wells, and they're like, good. And then I keep going, and I signed Jennifer Parker. And then I wrote, how about a ride, mister? So it kind of went like here, up here, and he's just at some point, he goes, this is going to hurt. I wish, I've never seen him since. I want to see it because they literally, even though there was so much writing, they said they were directly after me going to the tattoo parlor. Because he said there was no space left.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. And it's always an honor to come to these shows. And I think you got to admit, Back to the Future fans are the greatest. Don't you think? I mean, the most loyal, the most cool, the most greatest of any fans on the face of the planet. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think I'm right.
And we know that the 30th anniversary of the film was this past fall. Did you do anything to celebrate?
Oh my goodness. I traveled almost completely solidly for 3.5 months. Wow. London, Australia, France, Santiago, Chile. I threw the opening pitch for the Marlins in Miami.
Gosh.
That was cool.
Yeah.
New York, Washington, D.C., I traveled, it was constant. And even now, if you guys go to my fan page, which is ClaudiaWells.com, it has a section with my events calendar, and so every time I sign a contract to do a new show, it's always up there. But right now I'm booked 1 to 2 times a month through November. Though some of the shows aren't up there yet because it's just I'm waiting for the dotted line part. But yeah, I'm still traveling all the time.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah, I bet. Any questions so far?
Oh, good.
My name is Charles.
Oh, hi, Charles. Thanks. You want to come up there? There's a microphone.
Just a question on the, I guess your perspective. If you had done Back to the Future 2 and 3, how do you think the film would have been a little bit, I guess, different, or do you think it would have ended up the same as what we saw on
Well,
screen?
from what I was told, it would have been completely different, because what I was told was it was going to, and I don't know, I never read the script, but I was told that it was going to be Marty and Jennifer kind of going through the experiences together. So it would probably be pretty different.
Oh, thank you.
You know, though, I have to say, if I was going to be recast by anyone, I was very, very flattered that it's a genius, brilliant actress like Elizabeth Shue, who, by the way, I've still yet to meet.
Really?
Not once ever.
That's wild.
Trying to hide my thumbs because the polish is peeled a little bit, in case you're wondering why. But I guess I don't have to hide them anymore, because now you know.
Any other questions so far? I got one. What's maybe the weirdest encounter you've had where you're out in public and somebody recognizes you and say, oh my gosh, are you one of those, or are you Jennifer from back?
You know, it happens actually kind of a lot when I'm just on the street walking around doing different things, and I'm always like, who told you? Customers will walk in, I'm like, somebody told you, and then, no, I recognize it in your eyes, in your face. I'm always just sitting there astounded. It was 30 years ago, I was 18. And they're all like, no, I can still see it. And then, so there's that. And a lot of fans fly in from all over the world to meet me at my store. Literally from all over the world, so that's always flattering. And I always know they usually walk in either in costume or with a big camera around their neck. I know why you're here. So that's fun too.
That's great. Do you think you'll get back into acting and do some projects in the future?
That's a very good question. I actually, when I left acting, I decided, I knew that it was something I wasn't done with yet, and that I would always go back to. And then my store became so much fun and such a hit, and I realized I have such a skill for making men gorgeous and happy, and it's just a pleasure. Plus it's taken care of my son and I all these years. I'm done, he's 21. But anyway, now I forgot the question, I went so off subject.
What your next projects are?
Oh, acting. So I decided that I wanted to go back to acting, but my prayer was that God would have it delivered to my store, like wrapped up in a nice bow, and someone would just find me. And I just have never had the hunger to pound the pavement, or, I mean, basically, to be an actor, you have to really be okay with constant rejection that's always personal. And they say it's not personal, but it is. It's, you're too big, you're too short, you're too tall, you're not blonde, there's so many different reasons. So I never quite wanted to put myself through that again. And amazingly, people found me and offered me jobs. And a couple weeks ago, a writer asked me to audition for his movie, and it was this really cool audition, so I'm waiting to hear back on that. But I'm in movies every now and again, and open to it, and I'm not a snob, I'll audition if they find me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What would be a dream role for you?
You're probably too young, but did you ever see the movie Frances? Did you guys see the movie Frances with Jessica Lange? No, it's the greatest movie ever. And she should have won the Oscar. She won the Oscar for Tootsie that year instead of, but she was nominated and Meryl Streep got her Oscar. I don't know if Meryl Streep knew that she got her Oscar, but she's Jessica Lange. Just for me, because I've lived so much life and I have so much experience now that I didn't have as a younger person, I would like to do something very gritty and difficult and challenging, and like someone with problems, like valid problems, because I've had a lot, so I can do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my dream role.
Do we have any other questions so far?
Yay!
The famous tryout scene from the bands, Battle of the Bands.
One more time, please.
The famous scene, Battles of the Band, where I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
Ah, yes.
With the, what was it
forgot
like
what it was
working
called.
with Huey Lewis?
You know what's funny? That's a good question. Huey Lewis was sitting next to me in the makeup trailer, getting his makeup done, and I noticed him, and I whispered to the makeup man, Ken Chase, by the way, who's the guy? And he goes, that's a singer. What's his name? Huey Lewis. Oh. I grew up with opera and symphony and Elton John and Simon and Garfunkel and French arias that my mom played. So I was very naive when it comes to anything popular in terms of music. So I had no idea who he was, and Michael did, and he was so excited. And I remembered he brought an album with them all holding a surfboard for Huey to sign. And I didn't know anything about all that. But we're still good buddies, and I do know who he is now.
That's I saw him a couple of years ago in Panama City performing, and he sounds just as great as he did back in '85. Best '80s band ever.
You know what, I agree, and the thing is, I saw him when we were all in New York for the October 21st event. He looks the same. He looks the same as he did when I was 18 years old.
Maybe he's done some time traveling too.
Maybe, because he looks, I mean, the man has not been done up. He's just whoever he is, but looks great, and he's really nice. And
Thank
he's doing the 80s cruise, by the way. I don't know if it's too late for you. It leaves at the end of this month, so.
Thank you, ma'am.
So you were in a film that was kind of, it was sci-fi-ish at the time, kind of. Are you into sci-fi? Do you like sci-fi? What kind of films do you like to watch?
I'm more like the romantic comedy type person, or like the romance, or family relationship. I'm not really such a sci-fi girl, other than I'm adoring that I got the blessing to be Jennifer Parker, because it's like the gift that keeps on giving, and I get to meet the nicest people, you know you're the nicest people, I know you're the nicest people, but I am not, like I stood in line for 3.5 hours to watch Star Trek when I was in the 5th grade, with Annie Robinson, by the way, and her mom Mary, and I decided at that point I would never stand in line for a movie again, so I've seen Star Wars, the first one. That's about it. Oh, and my brother would bribe me with Barbie dolls so that he could watch Star Wars on TV and Batman instead of Brady Bunch.
That's great. So does it run in the family? Does your son have any interest in acting?
None. Now, my son was like the Gerber baby. He was just one of the cutest little things you've ever seen ever in your life, and everyone thought he should be an actor. And I just had a thing about, I don't think so. Because the thing is about acting when you're young, in my experience, is my self-esteem became very attached to whether I was working or not. So even though I was a good student and a nice person, if I wasn't starring in a series or about to star in a series or had just starred in a series, I didn't think I was worthy. So I never wanted my son to experience that. And when I left acting, it took me a while to realize, oh, wait a minute. God created me and He loves me, so I'm worthy without anything extra, because He said so. So that changed my whole self-esteem issues. And I just didn't want my son to deal with any of that. And he's a computer genius and does something called coding and builds sites for media stuff. And yes, I tried to hire him. No, he moved on to other things. But he's a great kid. He's really, my dad's an absolute genius. He's a scientist. So, and my son thinks that, the geniusness skipped generations. Well, he has it, but I ate a lot of protein when I was pregnant. And I keep trying to remind him, hello, you came from me. I know, but I got grandpa's smarts. But he's a good boy. He's a nice guy. Yeah.
So is there any day of filming in particular that you can think of on the set of Back to the Future that stands out in your mind? Maybe a funny memory, even a difficult one, just a day that definitely stands out to you?
Two. Okay. The scene we do with the clock tower, with the Save the Clock Tower lady, starts like here. If you're in the Hill Valley Square, you would start right here. Then we walk, here, then we stand on the bench, and this goes out, and that happens, and that. All of that was in one take. And so everything had to be perfect. The women doing aerobics in the store right here, because if you start here, it's right there. Some people get my weird humor. So it wasn't just us, it was so many other factors involved. And Bob Zemeckis is a perfectionist, obviously. So we did a lot of takes, because if anything was off, the car wasn't in the right position, or one of the lazies wasn't jumping up and down, then we had to do another take. So that was an interesting experience. But it was fun, lots of kissing. I wasn't complaining. And then the last scene of the movie, when we were shooting that, which we were shooting a few times in a row, Michael and I would sit in that BMW that was in the driveway. And again, since I wasn't real cool, or didn't know a lot about current music, and he was playing this like cool music radio station, and I just felt like, wow, this is kind of neat. Like, I'm a girlfriend. It was fun, because I was never a girlfriend in high school. I was too shy and no one asked me out. But. That's my boo-boo face.
Any other questions so far? Yeah.
So, in the 80s, you'd see kind of the genre of time-traveling movies. We had The Terminator, Back to the Future, a lot of spin-offs from that as well. And then the 90s became more cyberpunk, a lot more computer-based. Do you think we'll ever see a resurgence of
I missed the
time-travel?
90s ones. What'd you say? The 90s ones were
Or
what?
more computer-based, cyberpunk, like, Terminator 2, a lot of just computer movies, like hackers and things like that. Do you think we'll see a resurgence of time travel movies?
That aren't computerized?
Right, that are more along Bob Zemeckis' perfections.
I'm not sure. I think you have to have a lot of confidence as a director and a producer and a writer to not use all that. Wait, I know it. TGI?
Close.
I was close. Because that's easier to be, to know that you're going to get it right. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm kind of incredibly proud to be in a movie that was before all that. So actually, when we were flying, we were actually flying. So things like that. Again, my weird humor.
There seems to be a tendency nowadays for everyone to remake movies from the 80s. Like Goodies is being remade, a bunch of movies are being remade. I personally would hope that I don't know if I would want them to remake Back to the Future. And I can't see anything online that says that anyone's thinking about that, but what would be your thoughts if they were to say, someone's gonna take it and reboot it and remake it?
Sure! But they really say they're not going to ever do a Back to the Future 4. I mean, Bob Gale has said that countless times, without exception. So I think that the trilogy is it for Back to the Future. And there's all those rumors about new Back to the Futures popping up, or I heard one was being done in India and all that. It's all rumors. Because they can't.
I want to know, you said you had studied the part of Jennifer, you knew where she went to school, what her homework schedule was like. Did you feel like you and the character of Jennifer Parker were similar? Or
You're good. Exactly the same,
Really?
except she had a boyfriend. And a dad who lived with mom. Because I come from a divorced family since I was under 2. And I'm so close to my dad and his wife now. And it's one of the greatest things in my heart. Jennifer and I were almost exactly the same. Not that it was an excellent acting, but we were pretty much the same person. She might have been cooler than me.
I liked the way she dressed. That was pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah. Were you excited?
It was all yes.
Oh, really?
Actually, I was dressed totally different for the band scene, and when Bob Zemeckis saw me, he said, and I've never said this to anybody, but so here's inside scoop. He didn't like how I was dressed. He thought it was too hard, too like rocker, and they had to actually leave and go shopping and get me a different outfit while everyone waited.
Wow.
Something else, right?
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's great.
I was so glad that wasn't my job.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think we have time for one more question. If anybody, yeah, come on up.
And can we just say how fabulous she's doing it at being Yay!
I came in a couple minutes late, so I'm not sure if this question has already been asked, but what do you think it is about Back to the Future that makes it resonate with fans years later?
Hasn't been asked. I think because it's such a brilliant script, and because it's a character-driven movie, and because it's timeless. Who doesn't want to have an opportunity to change everything, or to see who their parents were when they were teenagers? I mean, I would have liked that. So because it's every generation loves the movie. I've got these itty-bitty little people that love the movie and are, short little teeny people who are like, ah, and then their grandparents. So I think it's just one of those things that, like It's a Wonderful Life or The Wizard of Oz or Sound of Music, just that kind of a movie that lasts forever. I think that, yeah, I think that's why.
That's great. One last question, anybody? All right, well, give Claudia Wells a huge round of applause.
One last thing. My new shirt, my How About a Ride shirt, I actually posed for it in Indiana on a time machine, and then they turned it into a Jennifer Parker. And you can get them on my fan page, or fan media site, claudiawells.com, along with my Clock Tower t-shirts and fan items and things. But there's lots of copycats of the Clock Tower shirt, and mine's the original.
Nice.